Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to the stream.
And happy Halloween.
Oh my God, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Today's the day.
It is the day, the long-awaited day for so many people who enjoy being weird and scary and spooky. So, our people.
If you're here, let us know. If you have a costume on, let us know. If you're headed out, if you're in France and this is like, oh, I'm just going to turn on YouTube before hitting the streets, let us know. Let us know where you are. Let's see. Sarah, do you have dress-up plans tonight?
So I don't have dress-up plans, but if you'll pardon me for 1 second here, I do have 2 pounds of high chews, as well as a giant sack of chocolate bars that I'm going to be giving away on my front porch tonight. So going to be excited for little kids dressed up as whatever brain rot is popular right now. So very excited.
If you don't know, folks, Sarah is a high chew addict. I think it's safe to say. And so I see what you're doing here. It's like foisting them on the coming generation. Keep the product in circulation so that you'll never have a shortage of high chews.
Oh yeah. I'm like in with like the dentist lobbyists. It's like, let's rot those teeth. Let's do it.
Well, y'all, welcome. The agenda today is that Sarah and I are first going to discuss a story called John Charrington's Wedding by E. Nesbit. This is part of our ongoing story club here, where we work through this collection of horror short stories every Friday. After that, we're going to kind of go into a writing workshop. So we're going to have a kind of book club moment about this short story, talk about how it felt for us as readers, talk about what we can take away from it as writers, and then do a presentation about cozy horror. That's the game plan. If you come into this on the restream, hopefully it'll be some table of contents because we've got an exciting hour to 2 in front of us here. That is the plan. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself first? I'm getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, probably. Hey, everyone. I'm Sarah Ray Warner. I am a writer and podcast producer living in the Midwestern United States. Usually it snows here on Halloween. It is not snowing here today. Kids are going to be happy. There's nothing like putting on, your cute costume and then bundling up over it. Very depressing. But yeah, I'm the creator of the Right Now podcast. That's WRITE, and also Girl in Space, an audio drama about a girl in space. So both are available to listen to for free always. How about you, Asa?
Okay, well, my claim to fame, which I've kept secret.
Oh, this is big. Everyone pay attention.
Yeah, this is low key a YouTube reveal right now.
Yeah.
Is that when I was like 23 or something, I edited this anthology called First Blood, Birth of the Vampire. And this collection is actually really amazing. It's out of print, but it compiles the early examples of vampire literature. And it is of specific interest today because it talks about the transition from vampires in folklore to vampires in literature. Other than that, I write short stories and I've done other things. But
oh my gosh, don't
this
sell
is
yourself
the most
short.
relevant. This is the most relevant.
Okay.
This is the relevant piece of the bio today. But I'm Asa. I like to write, and I'm here on Sarah, learning to be a better writer in community with y'all. If it's your first time here, we have a Discord. It's called the Public Writers Workshop. And I love to write and talk about books. That's me. Gosh. Okay. So, Sarah, I'm gonna give the bar pitch of the story here, and then we can dive in.
That sounds wonderful.
Okay. So the story in question today is called John Charrington's Wedding. This is a super short story. This is a super old short story. I want to say this is 1800s, right?
It is written in 1891, published in 1893.
Okay, great.
I'm that person.
Yeah, exactly. several years in between. And the cliff notes here of this story, in case you didn't read it, and it's a real short one, so you'll be able to follow along, is essentially this is a very Victorian story. You have a very desirable woman in a town who all the boys want to marry, and she doesn't want to marry many of them. But there's one guy in particular, John Charrington. The name of the story is John Charrington's Wedding, who is especially dogged in his attempts to court May Forster, is her name. He doesn't give up. He asked her out and asked her out. She just keeps laughing at him, literally, but finally succumbs, and they get married. But the thing is, the wedding does not go as planned. In fact, it's quite gruesome. It's quite horrifying. And we'll get into the exact details of what happens there, but it's not good. So anyway, that's the story that we're talking about today.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so I was actually a little upset. I had this story spoiled for me. So a lot of you may know that as we go through these stories, a lot of these were both reading for the first time. I'd never heard of Edith Nesbit, had never heard of this story. I Googled it to discover, as I just relayed to you, when it was written and published. And the first thing I saw was like an illustrative cover for the short story that shows a skeleton and a woman at an altar. And I was like, come on.
That really does kind of spoil it.
It spoiled it the whole time. I was like, well, when did... So that was a little bit of a bummer, because there is a twist to this story. It is, unless you've seen the cover, it's maybe not what you would expect. If you've seen the cover, it is exactly what you would expect. But yeah, so I was a little frustrated reading through the story because I love being surprised. It's one of my favorite things about both reading and writing. It's one of the reasons that it's so hard for me to write from an outline, is because if I'm not like consistently surprising myself within the narrative I'm writing, I get bored and my brain wanders away. So a little bit of a bummer there, but it was still an enjoyable read. It was really short. And it had, as we'll talk about in a little bit, I had to think about it afterwards because I knew we were preparing a workshop sort of based around this story. And it took me a little while before I figured out, like, oh, this is structured like a classic folktale. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more today. But Asa, what about you?
Gosh, well, I read this story out loud. I had wanted.
That's right.
So I read it. I read it here on the channel. So if you didn't read it and you want to be read to by me, you can go listen. And that's always a really cool experience because I think when I'm trying to read out loud, I'm trying to always, read kind of like half a sentence ahead, to kind of make sure that I'm interpreting what I'm reading correctly. Mm-hmm. But it was cool. I just love reading aloud, and, you're painting a picture. It's just the cinematic quality of literature always comes through for me when I'm reading aloud, because I'm trying to paint a picture. Like I'm trying to read my kid, I'm like saying a thing and trying to paint a picture. And so I had a vivid reading experience here with this particular story. I could really see the train coming. I could see this wedding and the ringers, the folks ringing the church bells. And so, yeah, it was striking, I guess, the number of images that I have from this story, given its very short length. I keep referring to its very short length. It's not so short, but 2,000 words, pretty short.
I was going to say, comparatively to what we've been reading, it is.
Yeah,
it's 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah, one of the shortest in the collection.
Yeah.
So that was my experience, I guess, and yeah, just enjoy. I found myself enjoying reading it, and we're going to talk about all this too, enjoying in like a way that I think is, you could say, like pleasurable, right? And like sort of the theme today, cozy horror, folk tales gathered around the fire. What is that experience? Like, what is the fine line of like, oh, this is pleasure, but I'm being scared. I'm being scared, but in a way that's pleasurable, that kind of thing. And I think just living in a Gothic tale for 15 minutes, like living in those tropes and those vibes, felt very good. And just a reminder of like how great Gothic ghost stories are,
Right. And how timeless they are.
Right.
I did not find myself like, there's sort of the usual trappings like, oh, I went to the supper club with the rest of the gentlemen. There's a little bit of that, but for the most part, like emotionally, it held up. I identified with the characters, I identified with the narrator and his frustrations. Yeah, just overall, really a delight to read.
Yeah, same. Gosh, all right. Where do we dive in here?
I'd
What's a
like
point of entry?
to
Yeah.
I'd like to dive in. As you know, if you've been following along with our story club, the short stories that we read always have a nice little intro in the beginning. This one is written by David G. Hartwell for John Charrington's Wedding. And it talks about Edith Nesbit, who I, again, had never heard of, was a dominant figure in children's literature. And this is always really interesting for me, is people writing outside of their normal genre and writing like complete classics. Like Louisa May Alcott, if you've ever read Little Women, she actually made her bread and butter writing bodice rippers, which you may or may not know. She had horror stories, she had bodice rippers, but it's Little Women that she's known for. There's a great collection called Louisa May Alcott Unmasked that I suggest you read. It's saucy. But I remember we read, I don't remember the author's name, but we read The Night Mother, which was another sort of fable fairy tale written by a children's author, a female children's author. And I'm just very intrigued by like being known for something, but then being known for something. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like being known to be a children's writer and then making it into this fabulous, I don't know, compendium of horror with your, outlier adult story. So, I mean, or maybe this is for children too, but I think it's an all ages way. It's not specifically like don't go into the woods at night. It's kind of for everybody.
I think so. Yeah, that's a great observation, and thanks for like bringing in that context. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's
I'm
that's
always I'm always interested about, and this is maybe, sometimes we talk about, well, we always talk about how in the story club we're writers who are reading stories to sort of further our own writing journeys and sort of pick up our own identities as writers. And it's always interesting how writers get labeled. And we've seen like science fiction writers who are labeled something and then they write horror and they blow up. Ray Bradbury very famously said, "I am not a science fiction writer." He was very against that. And so reading something by a children's author who's writing something for adults, I don't know. And it just kind of makes you wonder, like, how do you want to be known as a writer? How do you want to be remembered? What are you going to end up writing? Is what you end up writing going to be what you end up being known for? Maybe that's a little off the beaten track, but I'm definitely thinking about that today.
Yeah, that's all super interesting. I mean, just to get into this actual story,
Yes.
one thing you always help me with, Sarah, is clarity. And so in this story, the narrator, who's the narrator of this story? The narrator's a friend of this guy who marries May Forster, right?
Yeah, and this is really what drew me into the story. I think for the most part is the narrator. The narrator's name is Joffrey or Jeffrey. It's Geoffrey. So I'm not sure if that's Jeffrey. We'll say Jeffrey. Jeff. We'll say it's Jeffrey. He's a first person narrator in this story. And he sets us off with this really striking first line. If it's okay that I read this. Yeah.
Of course.
All right. First line, spoken to us by a first person limited narrator. So that means the narrator's not omniscient. The narrator doesn't know everything going into the story. The narrator is learning things as we, the reader, learn them. So the first line, no one ever thought that May Forster would marry John Charrington. But he thought differently, and things which John Charrington intended had a queer way of coming to pass. And so immediately we get a lot of information. We get the narrator's thoughts on two of the main characters in the story, May and John Charrington. And we get a little bit of a judgment about John Charrington. And again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It might be Charrington.
I have Charrington in my head too. That works.
Okay. No one ever thought she would marry him, but he thought differently. And what he thought usually happens. Like, what did you make of that, just as the starter of the story?
Well, I loved it because we talk so often about the
Mm,
handshake of the story. What's the story is giving us it's the instructions on how to read it, how to experience it. It's saying, "Hey, I'm a ghost story," and that's
yes.
exactly what happens here. Things which John Charrington intended had a queer way of coming to pass. Da-da, and
Double
I
meaning, right.
appreciated that. It's like very like, okay, so this is a story where strange things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really loved that too. And Joffrey's point of view, Jeffrey's point of view as we follow it, he's such a fun narrator to follow because he's like, oh, I didn't see that. Oh, hey, like he's so I don't want to say petty, but he's a very enjoyable human narrator to have. He's a very strong narrator with a strong voice. And I just really enjoyed that. I also think there's something extra fun and spooky about having a narrator in a horror story who doesn't know everything, having a narrator who is uncertain about things. And it's really fun to look for clues as to what's really happening amidst what the narrator is telling you, because the author, different from the narrator, the author is planting little clues along the way that the narrator may or may not catch on to.
Mm,
So I
mm.
think that's fun. It adds a little bit of distance. It adds another layer of character to the novel, or excuse me, to the story. This is not a novel, it's four
I,
pages.
I mean, this is, I hadn't even thought of this until this conversation, which always seems to happen in the best way
Yes.
for us. But like
Yes.
another thing that I think is really relevant here and connects to this idea of cozy horror, folk tale, is the story's not about him at all.
Right.
I mean, anyone in town almost could have told
Yeah.
this story, or any other of his buddies. And I think that is kind of what gives it this folk tale feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, by
Hey,
the
Laura.
way, hi, Lore. Hi, 51 Tesla, and happy Halloween to y'all. This is my favorite holiday. Gosh, it's one of my favorites, if not the favorite.
Me too. Me
Yeah,
too.
thanks for saying hey, Laura. Yeah, if y'all are in the comments and want to tell us where you're watching from or what your plans are, we'd love to hear it. Love to chat on Halloween as it's now Halloween. Yeah, so I think that this idea of the narrator being a person who's not it's not their story is a critical formal decision.
It is.
So there's this podcast down here in Mexico called Relatos de la Noche, Tales of the Night, which is now been translated, and you can actually listen to the English translation.
Oh, that's
But
great.
it's been here in Mexico forever. It's really popular. This is the 11th most listened to podcast in the world among all podcasts. It's like Joe Rogan, Huberman Lab, da da da, Relatos de la Noche is
That's a
number
big
11.
deal. That's
So,
a big deal.
and they're all like creepypasta kind of ghost stories. Not all creepypasta, but like, ghost stories. And almost to a T, they all have this kind of format where it's
Hmm.
like there was this woman in this town,
Hmm.
or like my abuela's hairdresser. This thing happened, and so there's this like the distance that's happening between the narrator and the ghosts, and the victim of the ghost is quite far, actually.
Hmm.
And I wonder if
Hmm.
that's really the key. I'm curious to hold that question in our head as we continue talking about it right now and ascertain exactly how and why that serves the kind of ghost experience.
I love
The
that you
story
mentioned
experience.
that. Yes, yes, it's a ghost story. We
Yeah.
already knew that. But thank you for bringing that up, Asa. And that's something that, as we dig a little bit into, after we kind of go through the story here, we're going to take a look at, what really makes a folk tale. And a lot of it has to do with how it's told. Folk tales like this are told usually by a narrator, someone who was not present, but it's hearsay, which makes it even more interesting because that they're adding their own judgments, maybe their own embellishments. It just makes it extra tasty. Like for me, if I would love to hear a story from your abuela's hairdresser because it's going to have her personality or his personality in it too. And like, that's part of, I think, what we love about story and what makes us dig into a story is we want to understand how people work. And this gives us an extra juicy layer of that. Because not only do we have the story, which is essentially about a wedding gone wrong, but we also have Jeffrey's hot takes about everything that's happening. And that just made it extra fun for me. So one thing I did notice is, and that you just brought up, Asa, is that I said this is told as a first person limited narrative. And it is. It's also told as though we are being orally told the story. So folk stories, folk tales come from the oral tradition of passing down stories. They are told to us. And that is exactly what this narrator is doing. So Edith Nesbit.
Yeah, where do you see that?
Yeah. No one ever thought that May Forrester would marry John Charrington. This is like if I was sitting in the pub or like whatever you would call it, at the Gentleman's Supper Club in wherever this takes place, a non-specified Victorian
just
place.
Capital C club.
Yes, the club.
At the club.
If I just bought everyone a round of beers, and I'm like, hey, I got one. No one ever thought May would marry John Charrington. And everybody's like, go on.
Right.
I really liked how, I don't know, it just seemed vocal.
You know what? Can I ask a favor of you here, Sarah? Do you want to just read us this whole first paragraph? Because
I do.
I didn't really perceive this. You're totally right. This is almost like a monologue, colloquial.
It is.
Read us that first paragraph.
And then on 204, I'll read
myself in the club right now.
Okay.
Just
you're in the club.
And
I'm Jeffrey.
Yeah.
I bought you a beer. I'm going to tell you a story. Ready?
Ready.
No one ever thought that May Forrester would marry John Charrington, but he thought differently. And things which John Charrington intended had a queer way of coming to pass. He asked her to marry him before he went up to Oxford. She laughed and refused him. He asked her again next time he came home. Again, she laughed, tossed her dainty blonde head, and again refused. A third time he asked her. She said it was becoming a confirmed bad habit and laughed at him more than ever. John was not the only man who wanted to marry her. She was the belle of our village coterie. And it goes on from there. And it's the narrator talks about we on the next page. We were all asked to the wedding. My sisters were, I truly believe, more interested in the trousseau than the bride herself. So we're really getting this is a told story. Like this is somebody talking to us.
I love that. And I love that you brought up how the narrator slips into the we here to include the town.
Yeah.
This like actually that's really great because it further establishes that this is a thing that happened. Like this isn't a thing. This is not a story that I saw happen that I'm going to tell you about. This is like, oh, that time that John Charrington's corpse showed up at the wedding.
Right. So maybe you're an out of towner. Well, we have an exciting story for you, out of towner.
Right.
We were all there.
Right.
And it just creates this really beautiful sense of community. I mean, there's even this sense a little bit later. I need to tell you about this. Jeffrey has a sister named Fanny, and there's like, this is a short story, but like 1% of this story is dedicated to my sister Fanny has a power of annoying me, which no other human being possesses. Like that's just its own thing in this story.
Right.
So we're there. We're having a beer with Jeffrey, and he's letting us have it. So
gosh. This is really great. Okay, this is cool because we're going to be able to enumerate these things in a second when we talk about how to write cozy horror. I mean, so far it's like what we have is that we have a narrator who's at a distance from the event. We have a narrator who is part of a community far from the event, has a voice, Yeah, this is great. This is sorry, I'm catching up to all the smart things you're saying.
Oh,
It's all
good.
clicking. Yeah, this is good. This is very useful.
Oh, good. Well, and we'll talk a little bit more, a little bit later in the presentation. We'll talk about folk tales and then how they're different from like myths and legends and fairy tales. We'll get into that too, because they're all different flavors of the oral storytelling tradition. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited. So I loved this narrator, but and for me, that was really the main enjoyment. But can we talk a little bit about the plot?
Well, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's
And you're
talk
just
a
like,
little bit
no.
about before. Yeah, no, let's, I mean, this is great. I mean, what stuck out for you?
What stuck out for me was the story, and again, being told by Jeffrey, it has a rhythm to it. It has a cadence to it. Of a story being told orally. He asked her to marry the first time. She laughed. Again, he asked. She laughed. Again, the third time he asked. We have these little narrative fluctuations that make it really fun. So basically, John is like, I'm gonna marry this girl, and everybody's like, no, I'm gonna marry her, and he's like, yeah, okay, she loves me. And the next thing we know, Jeffrey, our narrator, stumbles across John and May cuddling each other amidst the tombstones in the churchyard, which is the graveyard. And he makes this proclamation to her. I'm just going to read this to you.
Yeah.
John lay at her feet, and it was his voice that broke the stillness of the golden August evening. My dear, I believe I should come back from the dead if you wanted me. And then the narrator is so snarky. I love it. I coughed at once to indicate my presence and passed on into the shadow, fully enlightened. Like, what a personality. I love this narrator.
Carry on.
Jeffrey.
Yeah, that's insane. Okay, I read this and I wanted to know what the heck was actually happening. Are they just on a date?
Yeah, they're like making out in the graveyard.
Okay.
And it's so the reason that the narrator is sharing this with us is he's like, so they did eventually get married. None of us knew they were secretly dating, but I remember I stumbled across them once, and like maybe that makes sense. I stumbled them across, and it's very I don't know, serendipitous for the story that he hears this particular phrase, my dear, I believe I should come back from the dead if you wanted me.
Do you get the sense that he's trying to talk her into marrying him at this point? Or if it's like actually they're secretly dating, but in public, she's giving him the cold shoulder?
I think that in public, she's teasing. I think she likes okay, this is me editorializing and interpreting. This is not what the story says. This is Sarah reading stuff. I think that she enjoys being a little bit of a flirt. I think she likes having the attention. And that's not a good or a bad thing. That's just, she likes attention. She likes flirting with people. Hey, Mateo. And but what really sealed it for me, when the narrator first sees her, he says, May was sitting on a low, flat gravestone, her face turned towards the full splendor of the western sun. Its expression ended at once and forever any question of love for him. It was transfigured to a beauty I should not have believed possible, even to that beautiful little face. She is so in love with John Charrington, according to the narrator, as he stumbles across him in the graveyard, that like, she's like radiating her love for him. And so for the narrator, this is like proof that they've been in love the whole time.
Okay. I'm convinced.
So, yeah. Oh, I interrupted you.
No. Yeah. That's good. I mean, that's helpful. Yeah, because that was the one part when I was reading that I tripped over. I was like, what's going on in the graveyard? Da. What do we think actually happens to him? So if you didn't read the story, what goes on here is this guy, John Charrington, gets the girl, presumably. They make plans for a wedding, but he's like, hang on, babe, I got to go see my friend who's dying. He's really important. Got to go do it. He goes and leaves town and then doesn't really show up for his wedding, but then does. When he doesn't come back to town, why?
Yeah.
Like, do we have any kind of sense of what's happening there?
We do, or I do. Again,
what's your thought?
My thoughts and interpretations. So John Charrington leaves town to go visit his godfather, and he's about to receive the inheritance from his godfather who's dying. So he has to go see this guy. He's like, he's meant a lot to me. I think it's interesting to note that this really stuck out to me. May is begging him. She begs him several times not to go. And our narrator sees all of this firsthand. He is at the train station on his own business to London, and he notices May says she's calling out to him, like as John Charrington is boarding the train. May says, "Oh, I wish you wouldn't go, John," she was saying in a low, earnest voice. "I feel certain something will happen." And he says, "Do you think I should let anything happen to keep me the day after tomorrow being our wedding day?" And she says, "Don't go," she answered with a pleading intensity, which would have sent my suitcase onto the platform and me after it. This narrator, I'm sorry. But she wasn't speaking to me. John Charrington was made differently. He built different. He rarely changed his opinions and never his resolutions, which, keep that in mind. And so May is kind of chasing the train almost. She's like, "Okay, come back. Please don't leave me. Please don't leave me forever. Thanks." And the train goes on. Our narrator goes to London. John goes to his place. And then the day of the wedding arrives. So John has not come back from visiting. I believe his godfather's name is Bambridge. And May has received a telegraph that says, "Oh, he is, he's been kept. He's written to you too." They both received telegrams that asking if John could please pick up John Charrington from the train station when he comes back. So, and we can dig into this in a little bit because I think this is a really weird and interesting bit about the telegram. But we'll come back to that in just a second. So they both receive a note from John. Let's see. John goes to the train station, or excuse me, Jeffrey goes to the train station to pick up John. John is not on the train. He does not get off. And the narrator is like, "Oh my gosh, we are going to miss the wedding. Where are you?" And the next train comes 30 minutes later. John is also not on that train. So John's not coming. And the narrator is like having a panic attack. And he gets into his carriage and says, "Drive me to the church. John Charrington has not come by this train." Anxiety replaced anger. What had happened to John? And so he's on his way to the church. He's like, "Well, maybe he passed me and he's there already." And he's like, and I'm the best man, which is, I think, important to note. Our narrator, Jeffrey, is the best man for this wedding. And his carriage pulls up to the church only to find that there's a crowd gathered outside of the church. The doors are shut. Apparently, the wedding has already begun. Without the best man, without the guests. And everybody is very offended. I loved that. Everybody is just like talking about like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Why can't we get in?
Can I paint the picture here?
Please do. I would love that.
So just this is at the actual wedding. All right, John Charrington, who wasn't supposed to be there, and the man who's looking for him shows up. Are they still waiting, Biles? As in, like, is the audience still waiting for the wedding for John to show up? Waiting. No, sir. Why? It must be over by now. Over? Then Mr. Charrington's come? To the minute, sir. Must have missed you somehow. And I say, sir, lowering his voice, I never seen Mr. John the least bit so afore. But my opinion is he's been drinking pretty free. Right. And then they go on to describe how, he was here. He looks like crap. Mm-hmm. His clothes are all dusty. His face is like a sheet. He's been drinking. Something's gone very wrong. He has a black eye. He was always such a gentleman, it says. Yeah, so this is wild. And so for you as a reader here, what's happening? Like, it's like the wheels are just starting to turn, right? Something's afoot because our narrator, who we have no reason not to trust, has been waiting for John to come. John has not come. There's no explanation for how John could be at this wedding, given that he has waited at every single train that has come and John was not on it. So when you got to this part of the story, Sarah, like, what started to happen for you? Are you
Well, I
already
was
ahead, or did you already know it was a ghost, or like where were you at here? Spoiling aside from the cover, right?
I was gonna say the cover just made me so angry. So the cover did not show a ghost. The cover showed like a skeleton standing next to May at the altar. And I was like, oh, he's a zombie. So like I didn't even think initially that it would be a ghost. I was like, oh, it's a zombie. He crawled back like to this wedding and she has to marry this like corpse and it's awful. So that's kind of where my brain was, which
Right.
I think speaks a lot to the power of the cover of your story. The illustrations you include with it can really. Oh, thank you. Laura says I love the black and orange coordination. So
Oh, you know us, Laura. We're
yes,
as organized as we are with these streams. We're just constantly checking in beforehand.
we have like a wardrobe, like calendar, like. No, we don't actually. But thank you. So I really wanted to understand how what I guess expected to be a zombie story was going to play out. So I actually had to read the ending twice to
Okay.
understand that it was a ghost and not a zombie. Thanks, stupid book cover. So
Okay, well, let's talk about
how
that
about you?
because,
Well, yeah.
well, okay, I guess for me, yeah, I wanted to reread this story and I didn't, so I just had my read aloud moment. I
Ooh.
guess what surprised me, how do I put this? I knew that there was the undead. This dude is not alive and he's at the wedding. What did throw me a little bit was sort of the way that we talk about cinematography sometimes.
Mm.
The camera really went for the father of the bride. And so we really finish out this story not so much in the narrator's POV as we do in the father of the bride, which was a bit of a shift that I found both energizing and that, like, oh, well, yeah, this person has a lot of feels about this because his daughter just married a dead person and he's not happy about it. But also was like, actually, that's something I'd like to talk about because I thought that shift really worked, actually. And I don't know why, but I did have that experience of it kind of just energized it at the end. To clarify, in case you didn't read the story, what happens here is that our narrator shows up at the wedding.
Jeffrey.
Jeff shows up at the wedding. Did Jeff see John?
No, he's the best man.
Okay.
He shows up, the doors are shut, and people are waiting outside like, what is going on in there?
Okay.
And they won't even let Jeffrey in, even though he is supposed to be the best man.
Right.
And then it's this really like dramatic moment when, so there's ringers, which it's not a concept I was familiar with, but apparently they ring like joyful wedding bells. And as they're all standing there, the crowd whispering and gossiping, the passing bell tolls. So I interpreted that to mean like the death knell, the big bell at the top of the church starts tolling, and not the joyful little wedding bells a clanging. And that was a really, really fun sensory detail.
Yes.
Jeffrey ends up standing next to, as you mentioned, the father of the bride, Mr. Forrester, who he calls Old Forrester because this is that kind of community. And I'm gonna read this. Okay. Is it okay if I just read it a little
let's
bit?
hear it.
Okay. So John Charrington and May exit the church. John Charrington is a mess. May is like, she's dressed in white. She has white flowers, but her face is also like ghostly white. She's not okay. She's terrified. She's been through something very traumatic. As they pass, so they're walking to the carriage that's going to say like just married on the back, and they're going to ride off together. As they passed, the ringers stopped. There were 6 of them. And then on the ears, expecting the gay wedding peal, came the slow tolling of the passing bell. So the funeral bells ring, a thrill of horror at so foolish a jest from the ringers. So the crowd thinks it's a joke. They're like, what? Why? But the ringers themselves dropped the ropes and fled like rabbits. The bride shuddered and gray shadows came about her mouth, but the bridegroom led her on down the path where the people stood with handfuls of rice, but those handfuls were never thrown and the wedding bells never rang. In vain, the ringers were urged to remedy their mistake. They protested with many whispered expletives that they would see themselves further first. So like there's this whole like scene of like everybody's like swearing at each other, and this is just a disaster. And finally, old Forster, May's father, says, if I'd seen his condition, I would have stretched him out on the floor of the church, sir. By heaven, I would, before I'd have let him marry my daughter. So, like, everybody is in shock. Everybody's upset. The coach drives away. The father-in-law, old Forster, and Jeffrey, our narrator, get into a second carriage, and they follow the first carriage, which is headed towards May's house. And so they follow along. And then I'm just going to say this end real quickly, if that's okay. Okay. They get to the house. The carriage opens, which supposedly, people saw John Charrington and May go inside. The door to the carriage opens. Only May is inside. And our narrator and the father of the bride have been following the carriage. They didn't see John Charrington get out. They just know that he went in and now he's gone. And May comes out. Shall I ever forget it? White and drawn with agony and horror, bearing a look of terror as I have never seen except in dreams. And her hair, her radiant blonde hair, I tell you, it was as white as snow. And like, where's John Charrington? May kind of is like shell-shocked. And just then, as like her father is starting to freak out, like, oh my gosh, what happened to you, May? A note carrier, I don't know, a telegraph boy, I guess, brings a telegram to Jeffrey, our narrator. And it says verbatim, Mr. Charrington was thrown from the dog cart on his way to the station at 1:30, killed on the spot. And then the narrator is like extra saucy about this. And he's like, and like, this is the fun part of the story that he loves to tell. And he was married to May Forster in our parish church at 3:30 in the presence of half the parish. So like the narrator's really making sure we're getting that this is like a supernatural thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It's
like,
just like, in case you're not connecting the dots.
Yes.
The wedding was after
he died. And then it's actually kind of sad. The narrator brings back, hey, remember that one time I saw them in the graveyard where John said, alive or dead, I mean to be married. May dies 2 weeks later, which is actually really sad and not fair for her. And the end of the story says, thus was accomplished John Charrington's wedding, which a lot of times if you've been to, I've seen this a lot in church services, you'll see like, thus ends the reading. It's a oral storytelling thing. It's performative. Hey, Cody. Hi. There's a lot of comments coming in, but that was my take of like the ending and what happened.
Yeah, no, that's important because I think that it's not to be taken for granted. There's kind of a real option that Nesbit takes here, which is to kill the wife.
Yeah.
The story ends well without that, right? Yeah. Like, we have the punch. Like, the story is delivered when it's like, JK, the dead body just got married. That's a good ending. So that's interesting to me. And yes, slots it. But I think it gives it more symmetry. Mm-hmm. Thus was accomplished John Charrington's wedding. They're together. The story starts with this character. What does he want? He wants to be with her. What does he get? He gets to be with her.
He gets to be with her. You know what?
Not in the way we thought.
That's such a good point, Asa. Yeah, now he gets to be with her forever on his terms.
On his terms.
I think that's really important.
And she gets to be with no one else. Also,
May Forster.
Yeah, I want to engage some of these great comments here.
Yeah,
Mateo Leon Rodriguez, author, says, they were the ghost the whole time moment. That no, that doesn't happen here. The Lord Huntress, I was so sure that it was going to turn out that John had put May under a spell, but he was totally innocent. They simply fell in love.
Yes.
I had the same instinct.
I had the same instinct too. At first, cover of the story aside, I was looking for a little bit of a coercion narrative or, he always gets what he wants. He has some kind of talisman or he's casting a spell or something. But yeah, that did not happen. Or if it did happen, it's not part of the story that we're told. We don't know why he always gets what he wants.
I think that's a great point because, or just like in a general observation there, Laura, because that expectation really is kind of set up because that entire first paragraph essentially just emphasizes her agency in this community, laughs at him, right? We're talking like 1890s. She's just laughing this guy off, which felt really modern. And so, yeah, I had the same instinct. Cody, the writer who is or was here, hi, friends. I'm about to have to attend a work meeting, but I want to pop in and say, hey, I so appreciate all the writing deep dive y'all do. It's always such a great conversation to listen in on. That is so kind, Cody. Thank you for the kind words. Mateo says, hi, Cody. Good luck with your work meeting. Okay, Mateo Leon Rodriguez. I feel like Ghost would pop up instantly. What if part of the horror is he was late because he wasn't immediately dead?
Like it took him like 45 minutes to die in the street. That's really sad.
Okay, that's interesting though. And that definitely gets us back into kind of like Walking Dead zombie business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did, and I'm wondering if anyone on the internet in this chat knows what a dog cart is. The telegram to remind us of how Mr. Charrington died. Mr. Charrington was thrown from the dog cart on his way to the station. So I guess that's some kind of shuttle.
I'm just looking it up real quick. Oh my gosh. So, okay, I Googled dog cart. Just immediately everything is pictures of like puppies and wagons. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
That's not helpful. So
it's not helpful. Yeah, no, I mean, Mateo's comment there definitely has my imagination going that there was this like in between. I mean, it says he was killed on the spot. So I think we have a pretty decisive answer to that didn't happen, but it is exciting. Yeah, go ahead. What's a dog cart?
Okay, a dog cart is a two-wheeled horse-drawn vehicle pulled by a single horse in shafts or driven tandem. So it's just the name for a small carriage.
Got it.
So nothing to do with dogs.
Got it.
Sadly, or good.
Well, this is great. I feel like this could be the moment. Should we transition into everything that we prepared for today, or is that premature? What do you?
No. Let's see. We've got some folks in the comments saying, yep, he said in the beginning of the story you would come back from the dead to be with her. Yeah, a lot of things come full circle. This story focuses on what it sees as important. And Asa, I love the double meaning that you read out of that with like, yeah, and he's doing it on his terms. So that's why May dies. He kind of takes her with him essentially, which is gross and disturbing. But yeah, I'm trying to think.
I like that you brought up the ceremonial language with thus was accomplished. Exactly how would you hear that, or like what's the parallel phrase that you mentioned?
Yeah, so my dad's a pastor, so growing up in churches, depending on what formality of church you go to in the Christian tradition, lessons are traditionally read during the service, Bible stories and passages. And at the conclusion, just so people know that it's done and that now the pastor is going to speak and it's not the Bible, there's this very official thing that they say, thus ends the reading.
God, right. Thus ends the reading. That's what you're thus ends
yes,
the reading.
Thus endeth the lesson. Like there's a lot of different ways to say it, but I really felt that come through. Thus was accomplished John Charrington's wedding.
Okay.
Mic drop.
Got it. Mic drop. Thank you, Edith. All right, y'alls. This is the big time. Is there a slideshow?
There is.
There's definitely a slideshow.
Look how prepared we are.
We're not messing around, everybody.
No. This is real.
This is the real deal. Okay, stand by, but can we pull it up? I think so. Add to stage. There we go.
Yay!
Yeah.
No. Oh, that's good.
You like this?
Oh,
you like
that's
that
good
one?
Too. Yeah, both of those are good.
Pick
which one.
Yeah, this one's good. We can roll with this.
All
right. So, refresh. If you're hopping in the feed, this is Sarah. This is Asa. We are writers, and on Fridays we talk about books that we're reading from this collection of short stories this horror short story anthology. And from these stories, we talk about what we can learn as writers, as readers, and in community, actually do some writing. So that's the next part of this morning, is some actual spooky folktale writing workshop. And we can dig into these slides. Well, yeah, let's just go through the agenda here. Sarah, walk us through what we have in store for us here.
Yeah, well, we have some light chit chat, followed by a discussion of John Charrington's wedding, which we got into a little bit, but I think for the purposes of this workshop specifically, we'll look at a few of the aspects that we highlighted earlier. We'll look at what is a folktale, what makes for a spooky folktale, and then we've got a few story prompts if you want to try your hand at writing a spooky folktale. And then we're going to do some writing together. And then this is completely optional, but at the very end, if you would like to share a passage from what you wrote, we would love to read it and share it on the stream. And yeah, just build our own little community here, telling our own spooky folktales.
I love that. And at the heart of this is going to be what makes a folktale. Finish today's workshop objective with a basic understanding of what makes for a fun, spooky folktale, and get started with the writing of your own. The story, we just talked about that. If you pop into this feed, if you go back to this stream, you'll see an in-depth conversation around this story, John Charrington's Wedding by Edith Nesbit. Okay, let's get down to some terms. This is big. We got myths, legends, folktales. What's the difference? What are we trying to write? How do we write them? How would you define these differences, Sarah?
Yeah. So for me, when I was reading John Charrington's Wedding, I immediately thought this is a folktale. I did not think this is a myth or a legend. But then when I started talking about folktales, I thought it would be helpful to explain why. So what is the difference between a myth, a legend, and a folktale? So myths they're often sacred stories. They explain the origins of something. They explain phenomena like, oh, this is why the rocks are bright red. It's because, they were blessed by this, etc. They're often religious or sacred, and they often involve gods or godlike entities. So you have myths about the Greek gods. You have, myths about Zeus and Apollo and Hera. Those all deal with these large, godlike, all creative, all powerful beings, and really digs into the origin of something. So I hope that makes sense. That was the most concise way I could think to describe it. Oh, you might be muted. There you go.
That's what friends are for.
Yes.
Tell you when you're muted.
Yes.
Folktales.
Oh, could you go back one?
Yes.
Could you go back? Sorry. Yeah. And then I'm going to talk about legends real quick.
Yeah, legends. Let's hear about legends.
Okay. So as opposed to myths, legends recount heroic tales and deeds from history. So these are often unverifiable and exaggerated, and they feature larger than life human protagonists. So they're not going to feature gods like the myths. These are going to be about, the legend of Paul Bunyan, the legend of Sleepy Hollow. They're about people. And they're kind of like big fish stories. They're unverifiable, but really illustrates why a certain person is venerated in a certain area. Again, often historically based and explaining when and why things happened. Okay, so that was myths and legends. Now folktales.
This is folktales. I'm still on mute. There's a loud dog outside.
Oh.
That is the... So I'm going to take... I'm glazing my eyes, everyone. I have not looked at this yet.
Oh,
this is what I am thinking of, just for the fun of this workshop. I think that I'm going to share what I think of when I think of folk tales, especially in context of the legends and myths you just shared, and then we'll see how that lines up. If anyone wants to do this, you can also, you've probably all read it all, but I haven't. I'm holding my head. I'm like, what is a folk tale?
Good.
And what I think a folk tale is just kind of a story on the block, kind of like an urban legend. Mm-hmm. A story that was passed down word of mouth, but rather than heroic, the difference between like legends here is that this is actually everyday stuff. This is, handsome John and beautiful, and beautiful May. So when I think that's like my working definition is like a story that may or may not have happened to real people that is far-fetched but maybe plausible. That's my guess. That's where I'm
You're
going.
right. You're right on the money, honestly. You're
Okay,
right
let's
on the
see.
money.
Let's see.
Yeah. So in this case, folktales, and in this, you're going to see a lot of what Asa just said. You're also going to see a lot of resonance with the story we just read, John Charrington's Wedding, by Edith Nesbit. So folktales, as opposed to myths, which feature gods, or legends, which feature like larger than life human heroes, folktales feature the common folk. And they also often have a supernatural element. So this would include fairy tales. So Cinderella, folktale, also a fairy tale. Um, and these are often passed down oral storytelling tradition. And in the case of John Charrington's Wedding, we have it transcribed for us. So it's written like somebody would tell the story out loud. It's just been transcribed for us here, often with a strong, locally flavored narrator who tells the story. So in this case, we have Jeffrey. Oh, Jeffrey. And then folktales can also serve as like a sort of warning or a reason for why things are done a certain way in a certain region. So often you'll hear a folktale that's told to either create or explain a local superstition. So, this is why we don't do this. Or in our community, we close all of our windows before midnight so that, the ghost of the wailing widow doesn't come in and choke us to death. That was a terrible example. But folk tales are going to be very community focused. Very community focused.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a smaller community, so it'll be located around like a small community or I don't know, like a village or a town or a place. Whereas like a myth will be cultural. So it kind of goes from like a myth is like, oh, all of, Greek myths. And then legend would be like, oh, Achilles. This is a story of, I don't remember if Achilles was a god. I don't know. Some folk hero. I don't know. And then the folk tale is going to be a smaller story featuring just normal people who run into spooky or supernatural situations. So
I love that. And I love that part of your definition there was the locally flavored, which almost sounds like a euphemism. Locally flavored, Jeff. I love that because it's true. It's just voice. Oh gosh, hold on. There's a message. I think this is coming from my house. The dragon face from Elio. That's my son's name, everyone. Said, I love you so much, Papa. It's really fun. If we can go to Dr. Pizza later sometime, Mama is great, but we were really nice. Okay, so that's a contribution. Wow.
That's so cute.
Thank you, Elio, for that message. I will put it under consideration. I will consider that in earnest. Dr. Pizza later. Happy Halloween, everyone, for all of those of you with families and little ones. I'm blushing. Tears.
It's adorable.
It's amazing. Anyway, yeah, local color. I think that is super valuable here. And the wheels are already turning in terms of our writing exercise today. And I think that is going to be a really empowering idea for me is to engage with that. So what's spooky to you? Yes. I mean, that's always a tool that we have to use at our disposal. And I lost my.
That's okay. Well, and also, Asa, should we bring up this anthology that you worked on?
Well, we talked about it briefly at the beginning, but if you like vampires, I actually someday have considered just like trying to some week reading this whole book aloud. The real interesting thing is less that I edited this anthology, but there's actually a body of very early vampire literature, poems, and so on, written in the like 1600s. But I want to move on to this contest. So, as promised, everyone, we try to. Oh, by the way, Jimmy writes, "I want to go to Dr. Pizza too." Elio, there's other folks on the stream who want to join you.
I want to go to Dr. Pizza.
It's very good. That
sounds awesome.
It's very good pizza. Okay. On these channels, Sarah and I, we're not just talking about writing. We're trying to do actual writing. We're trying to get our work out there. And for us, we have found this submission opportunity where the theme is folklore. So the goal here for the next 45 minutes or so is to use some of the stuff we just talked about, put it to use, and write a flash fiction story inspired by that theme, folklore. This particular contest, there's good news and there's bad news. So the
Yes.
good news is that Apex is a pro market. What does that mean? It means they pay at least 8 cents a word. It means that stories published in Apex qualify for your Bram Stoker Awards, your Shirley Jackson Awards. The bad news, y'all, is that the deadline is tonight. So, now is the time. Now is the time. So, but flash fiction, that means maximum 1,000 words. We can take us, we can do this. We can do this. And so I'm already feeling, in addition to these prompts that Sarah has for us, which we'll talk about here, I think this view is cool.
Oh yeah, that fits.
Yeah. In addition to all that, I want to encourage you, because for me, what I'm feeling inspired by is this idea of local flavor. So where my head is already going right now is I'm going to try to hear a voice of a character who could tell me a fun story, just like we had in this story with Jeff. Sarah, do you want to describe some of these prompts for folks who might just be listening? What we're going to share right now, these are some prompts to get the wheels turning, to get the juices flowing before we jump into some live writing here together.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, these are just 3 prompts that I came up with. You are welcome to write about literally whatever you want. But if you find yourself like, oh, where do I even begin? These prompts might be helpful. So writing prompts for a spooky folktale. Number 1, no one in Sparlsburg dares to cross the old covered bridge after midnight. ... Number 2, there is a hollow tree at the edge of the forest that will whisper an answer to questions asked by moonlight. ... These are all going to end in ... And then number 3, the real reason why we don't trick or treat in this town is ... So you can see they're all community focused. They're all set up to be told to an audience by a narrator, a local narrator. And they all got a little bit of a spooky twist to them.
I love it. I love it all. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to move to the next slide. I don't know where. Share your story. Right. So we'll put in the links. This happens after, of course, but we'll do a little timed writing here. 25 minutes to get going. And then if you like, this is a zero stress, fun only situation. There's a Discord that Sarah and I run called the Public Writers Workshop, and it's pretty fun to share your work in there if you're so inspired. So I'm going to take this off. We'll put that in the comments here shortly. In the meanwhile, I am going to get the timer.
Perfect. Yeah. So
yeah. Any parting anything from anyone here?
Oh man, I'm just excited to jump in and do this. I love a challenge, and I'm excited to try my hand. I had so much fun reading this story that I'm really excited to try to write one with a very opinionated narrator.
Me too. Me too, actually. I really am. Amazing. Okay, well, happy writing, everyone. Lore, Dragonface, Mateo, 51 Tesla, anyone else? Cody, if you're still
Jimmy.
around. Jimmy is in the mix today. What a squad. Happy Halloween, everyone. Yes. Happy writing. We'll loop back. I'm going to turn the microphones off here, and we'll loop back in 25 minutes. Good luck.
All right.
And we're back.
Hello.
How'd everybody do?
Welcome back, everyone. Let us know in the comments. We just wrapped up a writing exercise based on what we learned today about cozy, spooky folk tales. I wrote one.
Yeah, you did? Oh my God, tell me everything.
Yeah. Well, and how did it go for you?
I have one sentence,
Perfect.
but I don't know. I have a setup. I have a sort of concept maybe, but let's hear it. How was yours? Mateo Leon Rodriguez, author, says it went okay. I got a short excerpt and I have a separate idea as well. That's exciting.
Ooh.
Great.
Got like a
Great.
double. I love that. Yeah. So for me, I actually started with the first line, well, the first few words of our John Charrington story.
Ooh.
No one knew why the church bell over the abandoned church rang 3 times at midnight every All Hallows Eve, and you'd better believe everyone in town did their best to ignore it. And like it ended up being basically there's a ghost who lives up there, and like everyone in town, like they don't want to go there. They don't want to like, investigate. They're like, nope, just don't go there. We know not to go there. And this like poor ghost is like up in the rafters, like, won't please someone, listen to my tale of woe. I have some unfinished business. And it just ended up being like, it's told like it ended up shifting to the point of view of the ghost. And I just had so much fun writing it. She's like, hello. So it's maybe less of a folk tale because it's not told like about, humans and a supernatural occurrence, but it was really fun to write. So I'm giving myself credit.
Amazing. I mean, obviously get anything out. That's great.
Yeah.
Mateo Leon Rodriguez, author, says it's less small town though. Okay.
Yeah.
a ghost POV with unfinished business. Yes.
Yes. It was fun to write. If you're interested, those of you in the chat and the comments, I know that YouTube has a character limit. So if you want to share an excerpt of what you wrote during our session, hop on over to our Discord, which you'll find a link to just up there, and share an excerpt in the Share an Excerpt channel. We'd love to see what you came up with.
Gosh, yeah.
He said, do you want to share your one sentence?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I don't even like the sentence. I mean, I was thinking this, I tried to say to myself, okay, how can I really keep this really similar? And what I came up with was, okay, I'm just going to read the sentence that I have that I don't love. But here we go. This was a long time ago. And while some girls on the team might dispute some of what I'm about to tell you, everyone will agree the dance ended halfway through Brittany when Cassie May Lynn vomited gold-colored blood onto Trevor Jameson.
Whoa.
So I was trying to take like a modern take on it, folklore. So just something crazy that happened at a high school, trying to place it in whatever, 25 years ago. And then maintaining what I was thinking about kind of conceptually is that like I wrote this like, I don't know if you can see that. Narrator, monster, victim. The 3 characters of John Charrington's wedding, the story we talked about. There's the narrator, there's the monster, who is John Charrington, the husband, skeleton ghost, and the victim, which is his bride. So I tried to kind of start from this kind of conceptual framework where I was like, who's the monster and the victim? And then I was trying to map on a wedding. I was like, okay, homecoming, king and queen.
Ooh, yeah. I like that.
And what's the relationship between the narrator and the monster and the victim? And instead of the narrator being a friend of the monster, I was going to have it initially be like an enemy of the victim. I was thinking like kind of Mean Girls situation.
Yeah.
But she still is telling the story. So, that sounds interesting. In terms of any actual writing, we'll see. But that's the way I approach the exercise, though, and maybe that's worth.
I love it. I think that's worth a lot, and I'm really grateful that you were willing to like share that with us. Something that I noticed, and the reason why mine didn't necessarily turn out to be a folk tale was because a folk tale, as I learned in trying to write this, is sort of a meta narrative. And
Right.
so you sort of have to establish the story. So you get your characters, your villain, the plot, and then you have to wrap that up in a narrator's voice. And so I'm wondering, would this have been, at least for me, more of a folktale if I had, written about what happened to this person, and then after I knew what the story was, had a character, a voice, like tell the story with some embellishments and stuff. So I'm wondering if that for me would have been helpful.
Or that in your process with this story, that just happens after.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
Maybe.
mean, this, in the life or death version of this, where you have to submit a story today, I think that would be my approach, right? It's like, finish the story. Okay, what is the story? And then it's like, who is an interesting person to tell this story who would have a relationship to it? We've got at least one submission coming in from the Discord. This is Mateo Leon Rodriguez. I'm just going to read it out loud. My research has brought me to the darkest and most dangerous parts of this godforsaken moon. I've been chased, shot at, and nearly swallowed whole more times than I can count. All that pales in comparison to my experience in the icy craters underneath the Armstrong Bridge. I don't know why you can't have folklore on the moon, Mateo.
That sounds great. I love that it's on the moon. We never get that.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing that's going to win this contest.
Yeah, that's thinking outside of the box. I love that.
It's very
Immediately,
cool.
it had me asking questions about both the moon and the icy craters underneath Armstrong Bridge. Like, tell me both.
And I love how it felt like a folk Armstrong Bridge. Yeah, that's like straight out of Vermont, circa 1802, but also on the moon. So I actually thought that was cool.
I think that's a great twist. I don't know. Keep at it. Like as we said, if you want to, this is not a mandate. You can share it with us here in the excerpts, or you can also, we have a submission opportunity. The deadline is tonight, so no pressure. Yeah, Mateo says I couldn't finish a whole story in a day, though. A lot of people can't. This is flash fiction, so it would be under 1,000 words. But we do have a link to the story submission if you watch this before the deadline is over of October 31st, 2025.
Yeah. I'm going to pull up that slide just briefly. This takes me a second to switch it over. Stand by.
And I'm going to go ahead and put the link into the chat here.
Oh, smart.
So folks can click on it if they want to. That is not what I wanted to do. There we go. So there is the Patreon post where it's first announced, and then this is the link to Apex's website.
Yeah, there it is. I just put it up too.
Perfect.
So there you have it, folks. Apex Flash. If you want to keep up with us, there we are. Asamara Wright, Sarah Ray Werner, here on YouTube, here all over the internet. And gosh, we appreciate you. This has been nice. I hope everyone got a little done or learned a little. And happy Halloween.
Yeah. I hope you had a good time. Even if you're just here for the vibes, we're here for that too. I'm going to annoy my little... Hi, buddy. I have to show you. I have a little Halloween cat. So this is Cyrus, and he wishes you a happy Halloween.
Oh my
He's
God,
grumpy because I just woke him up.
I'm trying to get a bigger view here.
I just woke him up from a nap.
Yeah.
He hates it. Oh, sorry, buddy. But yeah, from both of us, we hope that you have a beautiful, safe, happy Halloween this evening, whether you're going trick-or-treating or, hiding in a bunker watching horror movies, whatever it is you do for your tradition.
If you're part of the
oh yes,
for next week, things continue. Next week we are continuing on, and the story for next week is called Sticks. This is by Carl Edward Wagner. Continuing on, if it's your first time in our story club, reading through this anthology called The Dark Descent. The first sentence. This is by Carl Edward Wagner. The lashed together framework of sticks jutted from a small cairn alongside the stream. Okay.
That's Blair Witch vibes.
That is Blair Witch vibes. Gosh, maybe that's what I'll go do right now. Turn off all the lights and watch that movie.
let's all go let us all adjourn and go watch the Blair Witch Project but yeah, we're excited. And are we doing this on Friday next week? Or TBD?
Yeah, let's tentatively say Friday. Yeah, we'll keep you posted in the Discord, but I think most likely. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Wonderful. Thank you all for being here. If you missed part of this presentation, you can go back and watch the whole thing. It's available on YouTube if you'd like to watch the replay. If you're already watching the replay, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye for now, everyone.